All right, Junkie Nation, here we go. We're continuing on with the march. All these one championship athletes are in the house. Remember, this Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 5:30 a.m. Pacific on BR Live. You can watch 4 title fights. My man Martin Nguyen, the first champ over at One Championship. He's defending his featherweight belt against Tan Lee in the featured bout. That's the third one from the top. Welcome to Junkie Radio. Martin Nguyen, how are you?
Good, man. I'm very well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, man, we're pumped up because One Championship is coming strong. 4 title fights in the Matrix. I can't wait. I'm waking up early for that one.
Definitely, yeah, man. It's after all this COVID stuff, we never knew if we were going to have a fight this year or any fights this year, and then One Championship came out, and we're throwing less events, but it's slowly coming together, and Chatri and the guys at One Championship are taking the right steps, and also have the support of the Singaporean government. That's helping us out as well. We're just glad and thankful that everything can get back to normal and we can go back to doing what we love.
So, Martin, is it pretty cool to be part of a historic card like that with so many champions? Or do you sometimes feel like you could get lost in the shuffle, and do you just prefer to main event your own card? How do you feel about that?
I don't really care, to be honest. Main event, co-main event, first fight of the night, I don't really care. As long as I get to do my thing and get to provide for my family. That's the main thing.
I always ask the athletes that we talk to over here from the UFC sometimes, like, can you carry the momentum from one show to the next? Like, do you feel it? Like, for example, Fight Island just finished, but we got a bunch of fighters here in Vegas because they're having a card this weekend. And sometimes it's your teammate or a fellow countryman. How about you? Can you get the momentum from, a rival promotion? I mean, not really rivals. It's not like there's any bitterness, but, another promotion when you see a show like, that was just headlined by Habib and Justin Gaethje, and now you guys are obviously going to have your show. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, you just when watching other promotions, you being a mixed martial artist, you just look into the fight more deeper than a casual fan. When you look into the fight more deeper, you're like, what would I do in that situation? And then you start thinking more deep than usual. And when victories come and when you kind of notice what you would do and you start amping yourself up, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the fight. Like this, of course, you're going to carry some momentum over and it gets you hyped up for your own bout. But ultimately, you already had that 8-week preparation, and you should already know that alone, that whole 8 weeks preparation should already, that momentum should be already carried into the fight.
What is it with rugby players? I'm hearing a lot of rugby players are crossing over to MMA and having some success. I mean, hey, that's a tough sport. Much respect, you know what I mean? But I don't know. When I watch it, I think there's some sort of a saying where, although rugby is, it's tough. There's a lot of tough guys. You guys behave like gentlemen. It's not like I see too many fights breaking out. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. It's not like I follow the circuit. But man, what is it about that? There's some rugby gene out there that some of you just say, enough of this sport. I'm gonna go over there and beat people up.
For me, I personally had to give it up because of injury. But throughout rugby, it's all about like it's obviously an Australian national sport. So when we do play, it's more like wrestling, the tackling, the body weight transitions and everything like that. It's I'd say it marries up well. There's a lot of rugby players that do cross over to combat sports and are having success, from the power and the wrestling side of it. But yeah, some guys in the UFC, majority of them, I guarantee you grew up playing rugby. But yeah, maybe just got sick of it and transferred over to combat fighting.
Martin, we've seen where the championship has gone throughout the entire world. But have you ever heard any rumblings of possibly a fight card ever taking place in Vietnam? And if something like that ever happened, I got to imagine you'd want to sign your name to that. Do you even think about that? Has that been something that's ever been talked about?
It's always something that's on my mind since I've started mixed martial arts. I've always wanted to headline a card in Vietnam. Although we are lucky enough to to kind of start thinking about it, because it just got legalized in Vietnam. And I think they're coming up with a commission, and they're working closely with One Championship to throw their first mixed martial arts event. So yeah, ultimately I wanted this fight with Tan Le on the Vietnam card, because what better way to start off a mixed martial arts event in Vietnam than have two high-level Vietnamese guys duel it out for a world title. This kind of shows the world that us Vietnamese athletes can hang with the world.
When we look over this matchup, the mats, are they going to be pretty safe? I don't think anybody's going to go to the ground, right? Unless it's from a kick or a punch or a knee or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if it ends up there, then I'm sure somewhat I feel like I'll have that advantage, because I started off my whole journey on that mat, on the ground. It was all ground and pound and wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But ultimately for me and my fighting style, I feel that it's all about just a stand-up, man. I'm ready to bang. I'm ready to go in there and just put on a show and do whatever it takes to get my hand raised.
You inspire a lot of people. Can you name one fighter or somebody in your life that inspired you?
One athlete that I purely looked up upon, only up until recently, it'd be BJ Penn. Just growing up, he was my first ever favorite fighter. Just how resilient he was, how good he was on the ground, jiu-jitsu wise. Got his black belt at a very young age, and that was my ultimate goal. I was like, I want to be like him. Like, I started jiu-jitsu, I started doing everything the way he was following. I read his book, and yeah, everything was about BJ Penn. And then I thought he should have retired, but he came back and he had a few mishaps. He had a good career, but it is what it is.
Martin, who gave you the nickname Situation? That's brilliant, man. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I love that one.
It's catchy. So how it came about was I was fighting at 185 middleweight. I started off at middleweight. I was 86 kilos, and I just started jiu-jitsu just to lose weight. So I was like a short, stumpy, fat little Asian, and yeah, man. It just came to a stage where I was cutting weight for my first amateur fight, and it was at 155, and I started to show a bit of abs and everything like that. And the Jersey Show sitcom was around, and the situation was there. It was all about his abs, and everyone started calling me the Situation. And when I went down to 145, I lost. I was basically skin and bones, but you can see how shredded I was, and everyone started calling me the Situation. I was like, don't call me that, man. Call me the Situation. And then that was a joke, and that was just like a one time.
Oh, wow.
As it is, and then now it just stuck on. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Situation." I was like, oh, "It's kind of embarrassing, but it is what it is. I don't care."
No, man, I think it's awesome, and I think it stands out. And had you thought of that one already, or that literally just came out at that moment?
It was that moment where everyone was like, "Hey, Sitch, what's going on?" Or Situation, what's going on? And I was like, "No, don't call me that, man. Call me Situation," like as a joke. And we all started laughing at it. And then when I had my first 66 kilo fight, I'm walking in, the MC came in and goes, "Okay, if you got any monikers or anything like that, any nicknames, or you just Martin Nguyen?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Martin Nguyen." And then my coach was like, "No, he's a Situation." And then they were like, "What's a situation?" And they were like, "Situation to Asian." And then they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I was like, "Oh shit, he already knows now." And then he announced it, Jimmy White, the man.
There you go. He gets credit. All right. Well, it's obvious you fight a lot better than the one on the Jersey Shore. He was usually on the losing end. Ronnie seemed to be the better fighter out of all those guys.
That's why I said, don't call me the Situation. He was always on the losing end. He was punching walls and breaking hands and getting himself knocked out. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, listen, it's fight week, and we appreciate all you athletes rolling through here and giving us some time. I know you guys got those hydration tests, so we're keeping it a little short. But in the future, we'd love to have a good sit down with you and talk a little bit more about your past. Obviously, I was reading a lot of stuff that was interesting about you, rugby player, car mechanic. The different interviews that were out there, and of course, we got to get through this pandemic. Because everything's different now. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like to fight in front of. I think they're saying 250 people. But I'm sure it's just good to get out there and fight, and just start getting back to some normalcy. So thanks again for doing this interview. We appreciate it, and good luck on Friday.
No worries. Thank you so much, guys.